Welcome back, friends. 3 F-15s, 1 Allied Hornet, 3 missiles fired, all by mistake. How did friendly fire strike in the middle of a tense Iran-US-Israel conflict? Let's break it down. 3 multimillion-dollar fighters, 1 Allied
Three
Hornet,
American
3 missiles fired in
F-15E Strike
minutes,
Eagle
and a
fighter
modern
jets were
networked air
downed
war
in a
with
friendly
encrypted
fire incident in
identification friend or
Kuwait.
foe systems
One
and
jet
tactical
seen
data
with
links.
smoke and
How
fire
does
coming
friendly
from the
fire
back
bring
as
down
it falls from the
3
sky in a
F-15E Strike
spin.
Eagles?
A
That is the
parachute
central
visible
question
in the distance
investigators are
floating
trying
to
answer,
safety.
and the short,
All of the
sober
6
summary
crew
is
members
this. According
survived.
to
The
preliminary
Pentagon
reports,
confirming the
3
jets
F-15Es
shot
returning
down
from
by
strike
Kuwaiti
missions
air defense
were engaged
systems,
by a
saying
single
it's
Allied FA1 Hornet. 3 missiles struck in quick succession from the rear, each jet lost control and crashed, and all 6 aircrew ejected and survived. The incident is reported to have occurred over a location referred to in early accounts as Quite, name as reported and currently unverified, and some unit identifiers in first reports appear garbled or unconfirmed. For example, references to a 4th Fighter Wing of Sior Johnson and a 48th Fighter Wing of Lacan Hit are indefinido at this stage. If you want a detailed technical walkthrough of how this could happen, subscribe. We'll unpack the mechanics in detail. To understand the why, we need to start with the larger operational picture. The engagement took place during a high-intensity campaign that sources report began around February 28th, marked by sustained missile, cruise missile, and swarming drone activity attributed to Iranian-aligned forces. In the days before the shootdown, bases and nearby infrastructure had reportedly been targeted repeatedly, raising readiness levels and putting local Allied air defenses on edge. In that environment, aircrews and controllers were operating at elevated threat perception. Every radar return, every heat signature, every ambiguous blip could be a lethal threat. That background matters because systems and human judgments do not operate in a vacuum. They operate under stress and under expectation. So what unfolded in those crucial minutes? Collating what has been released publicly and reported by multiple outlets, the sequence, as described in initial accounts, is this. A flight of 3 F-15E Strike Eagles was returning from strike missions when they were detected and engaged by an Allied FA1 Hornet on patrol. The Hornet reportedly launched 3 short-range, infrared-guided missiles in quick succession. Video and imagery that have circulated show rapid rear-aspect impacts, followed by loss of control and breakup consistent with missile strikes on tail or engine areas. All 6 aircrew managed to eject and survive, but the aircraft were lost. Investigations are ongoing. These are preliminary reconstructions based on available reports and should be treated as such. Now we move to the technical fundamentals, starting with the basic protective systems that are supposed to prevent exactly this kind of mistake. Identification of friend or foe, or IFF, is essentially a digital handshake between platforms. An interrogator sends a coded radio query. A transponder aboard the contacted aircraft replies with an encrypted, time-limited code confirming identity. Modern military IFF systems use Mode 5, which adds strong encryption and rolling keys so that only properly keyed friendlies will respond correctly. In ideal conditions, a friendly aircraft should answer that interrogator and appear clearly as a friendly track on displays. But there are practical failure modes. A transponder can be turned off, damaged, or jammed. Software or wiring faults can prevent a correct reply. Electromagnetic interference or electronic attack can block the interrogation or the response. There are also tactical constraints. Short-range engagements with heat-seeking weapons often play out before an RF interrogation cycle completes, and some missile engagements do not require or wait for an IFF exchange. In short, IFF is a crucial layer, but it is one of several, and it can be degraded or bypassed. That brings us to missile guidance. The missiles reportedly used in this engagement were infrared-guided, commonly called heat-seeking weapons, similar in concept to early-generation AIM-9 Sidewinders and their modern derivatives. Infrared IR seekers lock onto the thermal signature of an aircraft, typically tracking its hot engine exhaust or hot airframe surfaces. Crucially, an IR seeker does not rely on radio frequency interrogation to select a target. It homes on heat. That means, in practical terms, an IR missile can be launched and will continue to guide to a thermal source, regardless of whether ground or airborne IFF has classified that source as friend or foe. If the shooter believes the target is hostile, the missile will not check with an IFF system before hitting. The weapon's guidance is independent of the identification chain. Aircraft carry countermeasures and sensors to warn of incoming missiles, but coverage varies by type and retrofit. many modern fighters have missile warning receivers, MWR, and expendable countermeasures like flares, which can seduce or decoy IR seekers. Public reporting around this incident notes that some variants of the F-15E operate with upgrades that include such sensors, while other configurations or older airframes may lack full-suite missile warning equipment or have not been fitted with the latest defensive aids, a detail reported but not fully verified for the specific jets involved. If an aircraft lacks timely missile warning alerts, aircrew may have little or no warning of a rear aspect short-range IR shot until impact or seconds prior, limiting opportunities to evade or counter. Networks are the next layer. Tactical data links, the most common being Link 16, are the digital highways that carry track data, positions, and identification between aircraft, ships, and ground controllers. In an ideal environment, Link 16 allows a Hornet pilot to see friendly tracks as green, to receive IFF confirmations, and to coordinate engagements without ambiguity. But Link 16 is not impervious. It can be crowded in dense airspaces, suffer hardware or software faults, or be
Three American
degraded by electronic
F-15E
warfare.
Strike Eagles
EW
fighter jets
measures
were
intended
downed
by an
in a
adversary.
friendly fire incident in
EW can
Kuwait.
introduce
One
packet
jet
loss,
seen with
latency,
smoke
or
and
loss of
fire
encryption
coming from the
keys.
back as it
High
falls
traffic
from the
density
sky in
can
a spin.
overload
A
displays,
parachute
and
visible in the
equipment
distance, floating to
incompatibilities or
safety.
misconfigured routing
All of the
can
6
produce
crew
gaps
members
between what
survived.
one
The
platform
Pentagon
believes and
confirming
what
the
another
jets shot
platform is
down
actually
by Kuwaiti
tracking.
air defense
In
systems,
contested
saying
or
it's
saturated conditions, the data link's usefulness can be significantly reduced, and a single pilot may be forced to make a targeting decision with incomplete or stale information. Human factors tie all of this together. Under repeated incoming fire warnings, crews and controllers become threat-primed. Their perceptual set leans towards seeing danger. Confirmation bias can make ambiguous sensor returns appear consistent with the expected threat. Split-second decisions, especially in a theater where cruise missiles and swarming drones have been used, create a high risk that a rapid misclassification will be acted on. Rules of engagement are intended to manage that risk, but they depend on reliable data. When sensors are degraded, when IFF responses are missing, and when the operator is under stress, the balance between caution and decisive action shifts, often toward the latter. These dynamics are not hypothetical, they echo earlier incidents. In 2003, there was a case often cited where a friendly aircraft was downed by a surface-to-air system amid complex identification signals and high operational tempo. A reminder that layered systems can fail when the environment is hostile and confusing. More recently, reports from December 2024 describe an incident in which an Allied FA-18 was shot down in a contested area under circumstances that again underlined how networks and human judgment can break down. The exact details of that event remain a subject of formal inquiry and should be treated as such. These precedents show a pattern. Technology reduces risk but does not eliminate the fog of war. What are the consequences and likely areas under scrutiny? Immediately, the material loss of 3 F-15Es is substantial. The political and diplomatic fallout depends on the coalition relationships and the precise facts investigators confirm. Operationally, expect audits of IFF settings and transponder health, stricter procedures for visual identification and engagement confirmation, accelerated fitting of missile warning systems where gaps are found, and renewed emphasis on data link resilience and EW-hardened communications. Training will also be a focus, better simulating highly stressed environments, rehearsal of identification procedures under degraded sensor conditions, and reinforcing decision frameworks to prevent confirmation bias in the cockpit. It is important to emphasize what we do not know and what we must not assume. The investigation is ongoing, public accounts are preliminary, and in several places use names or unit identifiers that are indefinido or garbled in early reporting. There is no evidence at this point to suggest malicious intent by the pilot who fired. Human factors, system limitations, and the operational environment are the more likely explanatory frame, pending fuller findings. Any causal claim should be qualified. The current reconstruction is consistent with a combination of IFF ambiguity, the mechanics of IR-guided engagements, possible gaps in missile warning capability, and degraded situational awareness from data link or EW effects, all compounded by heightened threat perception. So how do we answer the title question succinctly? In the layered reality of modern air combat, no single system guarantees perfect safety. Encrypted IFF, datalinks, and avionics dramatically lower the probability of fratricide in peacetime and in many combat conditions. But under intense operational pressure, when adversary missile and drone activity saturate airspace, when electronic environments are contested, when transponders or networks are degraded, and when human operators are threat-primed, those same layers can be bypassed or fail to provide clear, timely information. An IR-guided missile launched in a tense environment can reach a target before identification chains complete. That is likely how 3 F-15Es were struck, a convergence of technical gaps and human judgment under stress, not a single, simple failure. This incident is a painful reminder that technology reduces but does not erase the fog of war. The full lessons will only come after a thorough, independent investigation that clarifies the timeline, the systems involved, and any procedural shortfalls. Until then, the sober takeaway is that layered defenses must be matched by resilient training, hardened networks, and procedures designed for the messy reality of contested battlefields. For a deeper look at past friendly fire cases and the technical diagrams we referenced here, watch our linked breakdown and subscribe for more detailed analysis.